Okay, continuing on here. This back portion here with TVA, where we'll use a Woodland Scenics light gray medium ballast. Um, one thing about Woodland Scenics materials as far as ballast, it is crushed up walnut shells that have been baked, and the proteins are allegedly cooked out of that. And the reason why I bring this up is my son has a peanut tree nut allergy, and I contacted Woodland Scenics, which are great people to work with. They told me that, explain the whole process, how everything's baked out, but if you have an allergic reaction to peanuts or tree nuts, I would suggest working with gloves. You know, that way you're not contaminating or subjecting yourself to something harmful. So, with that said, let's get to work here. We'll take Woodland Scenics medium light gray. Use our cup. Now, if you notice, we have a couple of sections here where I had to run feeder wires. What we're going to do here, a couple of different options. We could fill this in with material, or we can actually use a thicker blend, which for this purpose, since I don't have very many of those, we'll use a coarse grade blend just to fill that area in. That way we're not wasting a lot of our ballast. So, take your phone, we'll work this in. We'll use some of this coarse down here in the middle between the main line and the siding. And keep in mind when you're doing this, the foam, you're not really pressing down extremely hard. So basically you're like a track tamper or a broom, pretty much, that they use on a railroad. Now, remember what I said about the railroads use different ballasts compared to industries or whatever. This right here, we used a gray blend up to this point. This would be the end of the maintenance limit for the Tennessee Southern at this switch. The rest of the responsibility is in control of the industry. So, take your foam, just keep working the ballast. You know, the old standard trick was, you know, take something like a wood pencil or dowel rod, whatever, you know, keep tapping until you get the ballast off the ties. Well, this, you're filling in between all your ties. You're not wasting your rock. And we can take this real smoothly down the side of the roadbed. Which brings me to another point about roadbed. What we've done on this railroad, when we lay our roadbed, we used wood glue. Mark your track centers, lay your bed down. Some guys like Greg Hill on the Clinchfield Model Railroad, he's a good friend. I follow his group a lot. And Marcus on his NS layout. These guys are doing some unique things with their layout. They use caulk to tack down their track, which I haven't done on this layout. I use track nails, solder it, tack it down. But it seems to work out for what they got going on. Then we came through and weathered our track. We used ground black, tie brown, and engine black, and grimy black, if I didn't mention that. I believe Marcus was trying a technique on his N-scale layout using camouflage paint, which I'm curious how that worked out. It looked good in the photos, but I haven't contacted him to see how that worked. So now keep in mind when you're doing this, you don't want to press down too much. Shore up the edge lines around the ballast. I did have a question a while back asked to me by one of our members on our Facebook page. Why would I ballast the track before I do scenery? Well, here's the reason. One, I don't want to be wasteful with my products because, let's face it, this hobby ain't cheap anymore. Two, I model fall time, so I've never seen a clean railroad over probably 1,200 miles plus a railroad that I've actually operated on as a professional railroader. So basically, ballast your track first. If you get a little green on it after you glue it down from your other scenery, that's part of it. Gives you a little depth. Everything's not uniform, and it's going to look better. So pick you a little area for a stopping point. Work to that area. Usually the way we've been doing things, because we've been trying to finish the layout off, we tend to work in a 10-foot area and try to knock that out. So it tends to work for us. But work at your own speed. My suggestion is take your time, do it right, and if you're unhappy with it, well, spray some water on it and suck all the ballast up with a shop vac. So and the nice thing about the foam, like in the middle of the track, you can, put your easements in, give it some depth. Then with the cup, if you got a little spot that you need filled in, you just fill it in like so. Now let's say that we want to add a little character to this. Since this is a power plant lead, coal hoppers tend to lose some coal out of the bays. Especially the old 3-bay 100-ton to 70-ton hoppers. So we're going to create like little seam of coal, and what we're using for this is fine cinder ballast. So use a little spot like a engineer got some slack action. Dropped a little coal. So that's about, you know, placement of some hopper doors. Don't want to go too crazy with it. So after that's done, and if you felt like adding some leaves or weeds or whatever to this, this is a point where you could either wait or go ahead and add it on. So make sure all the ballast is off your ties and you've got it tamped down very well. And the black cinders, we're going to leave that set on the ties because, well, it hasn't been tamped. So take your 50-50 alcohol distilled water mix. If you get too close and spray this, your ballast is going to spread and it's going to be a mess. So the alcohol acts as a cutting agent. That way the glue will be able to easily cut through. So probably hang back about 3 or 4 inches from the layout. Now that it's somewhat saturated, the loose stuff ain't going to fly apart. We'll get a little bit closer. Saturate pretty heavy. Now, use your old glue bottle as an applicator. We'll start in the middle, pour heavy in the middle. And if you don't have your cracks in the layout sealed, where your plywood comes together and you got equipment underneath, I would suggest moving your equipment before you do this. Go along the outside of the ties. Keep in mind you're pouring heavy still, but make sure your area is very well saturated. We go on the outside of these ties. Stay very close to the ballast. Keep a fine bead of glue on down. Now, you want to let this dry for a day. Let it settle. Come back a day or so later. Go through the mist one more time. Put another application of glue down. Then leave it be. Now, during that time, if you want to add weeds or static grass, once you put that next layer of glue down, go ahead and hook up your grass applicator. Put that in on that round. So that way you give this opportunity to set up and firm. And once you're done with all that, get you a Cratex track cleaner. Scrub the crap out of your rails, guys. That way you got some good contacts and everything. So that's it for the scenery on the ballast. Next we'll move on to the other part of the layout about the basic scenery.